This is Mike, and I am going to be going through a series of videos. This one is sections 1 through 3 of the contract of purchase, where Dayton and Cincinnati have come together to to utilize the same contract, which is in effect at this point, which was May 20th of 2025. In the bottom left-hand corner, you would notice on this particular one that I have, it doesn't have it because I had made a screenshot prior to the date being copyrighted on there. But this contract will always say May 20th of 2025 in the bottom left-hand corner. So let's jump into it. So um, obviously, you've got the logos of the MLSs at the top. The contract to purchase is the name of the document. This is a legal binding contract. If not understood, seek legal advice. For real estate advice, consult a realtor. On this particular page, there was only one change, and it was in regards to Section 3. Everything else is pretty much the same. What you would probably glean from this is this contract has increased in pages. It has gone from whatever it was to 14. One of the changes that we have noticed is the words are a little bigger, which therefore increases the number of pages, and so on and so forth. So that was one of the biggest changes. The other big change that took place is there's no longer a need for initials in the bottom of every page, just a signature on the last second to last page. So that's kind of nice. As far as the contract itself, you're going to fill in the address, the city or township, the zip code, the county. Here in line 4 is where you're putting the parcel ID, or as we refer to as the PID. And then in section 2, it talks about all timelines and deadlines under this contract shall be strictly construed. Time is of the essence in regards to any and all timelines, contract performance, dates, and contingencies in this contract shall commence the day following the acceptance date. And as you know, the acceptance date is the date and time of the last signature that is required to make this a contract. So if there's 4 parties, it would be the 4th signature. If there's 2 parties, it would be the 2nd. Section 3. So under Section 3, you're still putting the price in. Obviously, that's the same. Where Section 3 had a change was in Section 3A. So under the earnest money section, this first dollar amount it's a dollar amount. Line 13 is who is holding it. And then in line 14, it says earnest money shall be deposited to the listing realtor or the seller within blank calendar days. And so what was in here before was there was a parentheses here that said something about it defaulted to 3 days if this was left blank. That's been taken away. It's now required that you put in the days that are required to submit the earnest money. The rest of this paragraph is exactly the same as before in how earnest money is handled. This first section is in the event that the parties designate a licensed real estate brokerage to hold the earnest money. Everything that you see from lines 21 down to 32 are exactly the way it was in the other contract. The difference is from line 32 to 38. So what that says is in the event that the parties do not designate a real estate brokerage, but it designate another third party, or herein listed title company, to hold the earnest money, the terms and conditions of the escrow shall be governed by separate third-party escrow terms. And then you would check that box and you would have to attach something that states how the title company handles earnest money. Furthermore, it says both buyer and seller acknowledge and agree that in the event of a dispute between the parties as to the entitlement of the earnest money, the realtors will not make a determination as to which party is entitled to earnest money. Buyer and seller acknowledge the loss of earnest money may not be I'm sorry, the buyer and the seller acknowledge that loss of the earnest money may not be a party's sole remedy for failure to perform a contract. So then we get to the last couple of sections here. 3B, the balance of the loan shall be paid in the form of a wire transfer, cashier's check, official check, an attorney, or a title company trust account at time of closing. And then 41 through 44, lines 41 through 44, this contract, um, this section did not change at all either. But this is if you're asking the seller to pay closing costs when for the buyer's benefit, this is what you would put in line 44. So if you're asking for whatever that dollar amount is, obviously you're probably working with a lender to get what that dollar amount is. What it says, and in addition to costs incurred in order for the seller to fulfill the terms of the contract and to provide the marketable title, the seller agrees to pay actual settlement charges and or other fees due at closing on behalf of the buyer, including but not limited to discount points, closing costs, prepaids, or escrow, and any other fees allowed by the buyer's lender in the amount not to exceed that dollar amount. So that is sections 1 through 3. As we stated, you want to pay attention to the contract date, May 20th of 2025. Any other version would not be a version that we would acknowledge receipt of. Would need to be rewritten on the proper contract. But the change was here in line 14, where they took away the default of 3 days. Take care.